brand new equation where I can have like this 13x minus 9 and this are linear pairs, so they equal 180. So I can highlight that in blue. So this whole thing has to equal 180 degrees. And so this plus this equals 180. That's what I wrote up here. I put that 13x minus 19 equals that 17y plus 5 equals 180. You see where I got that from? But since I solved for x, well, I didn't yet. I'll make you solve for x. But once you solve for x, you can just plug it in here, and now you'll just have a number. Okay. You'll just do 13 times that number minus 19 plus, the 5, and you'll solve for y then. Okay? Alternatively... That's okay. Is that my erasable pen, by the way?
I have two. I found one on the floor in here.
Oh, okay, that would be mine then. If it was fun. Because I noticed those are mine, and I'm missing a few of them.
Yeah, I have two. Did you just want one?
It depends. Are they both mine?
The erasers are different. So.
The erasers are different?
Yeah, this one's complete. That one's mod a little bit.
Okay, I don't know. I just know I'm missing, and these are mine.
You want this one too?
If you're using it, you can use it. All right, anyway. So, alternatively, Lacey, this would be a way I might do it too, is you know how we can solve for x? Mm-hmm. You might alternatively just go ahead and take that and plug it in here and actually figure out what the angle measure is here. So let's say I plug it in and it comes up to 50 degrees. Then this would have to equal 130, and it's a little bit easier of an equation then.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes you can just plug it in and get the angles and do the math in here. Sometimes it's easier than having a long equation. All right, but both ways work. Yeah?
Can you do one of the challenge questions, number 11?
No. I guess we could look at it really quick. The big thing about this challenge question is we have these lines being parallel. So I'll highlight them in green, which means if I'm using a transversal, so that purple transversal there, and then I look at the angles that are formed there, purple's probably not a good, I'll pick orange. Do you see that 17x minus 23?
Yes.
That's corresponding to this entire angle here, the entire angle there. Because once I pick the transversal in two lines, all the other lines disappear. Plus 3x. So you'd have to have both of those. Then when you get done with that one, Austin, you're going to notice with this transversal here, this 3x and then 11y minus 1 are also corresponding, so that will be my second equation. I'll have that 11y minus 1 equals 3x, but we'll actually know what x equals.
Okay, thank you.
And that's kind of the same idea here, except we have a 90 degree here, so we can use the 180 all the way across to solve for all the other stuff. We definitely have alternate interior angles, but to get to this 7y, we're going to have to use the fact that this whole thing equals 180 degrees. Alternatively, some of us might remember how many degrees are inside of a triangle. Does anyone remember what happens if I add up all the degrees of a triangle, what it adds up to?
360.
It adds up to half of 360. 180. So that means if one of them's already 90, I only have 90 degrees to split between these two. That's an alternative way to do that one. Is that far enough, Austin, you think?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Let's go into today's notes. Can we take off our sunglasses? Okay. So we already did the top 5 on that pink sheet, right? We're going to take care of the bottom 5, but they seem very, very similar, but it's a complete opposite thought process. So the top 5, I tried to stress to you. In order to use those top 5, you must first have parallel lines. That means Mr. Pabian gave you parallel lines, or the sheet gave you parallel lines, or something said they're parallel. I had us also circle those arrows and say they're parallel because do we know that L and M are parallel on this one? No. In fact, they're not parallel. These are not parallel unless you can show they're parallel. Nothing's parallel unless I say it's parallel or you can show it's parallel. All 5 of these are ways for you to show that these two lines are in fact parallel. So the very first way is you can show corresponding angles are congruent. So a method I might use is, can someone name 2 corresponding angles you can see? 2 and 6, 1 and 5,
7 and 3.
7 and 3. Those are all the pairs, right?
4 and 8.
Yep. If you could show one of those pairs is congruent, you have parallel lines. So for example, I heard 2 and 6 first. So for example, if it turned out that angle 2 was congruent to angle 6, then L is parallel to M. So if I can show corresponding angles are congruent, I just need one pair. I just need one of those. I need to show 2, 6, 1, 5, 4, 8, or 3, 7. Then I can use the corresponding angle converse. Notice, I didn't say postulate, I didn't say theorem, I said converse. Okay? All of these are converses. You'll probably have to write corresponding angle converse. Not this part. This part is basically, and you'll see in our lesson, basically I might say 2 is 50 degrees, 6 is 50 degrees. And you'll have to go, oh, I'll use the corresponding angle converse to say these lines are parallel. Okay, so I'll give you these facts, or we'll show this fact. Your job is to say they're parallel and why they're parallel. All right, the corresponding angle converse. Corresponding angle is congruent, then you have parallel lines. Alternate interior angle converse. If you have alternate interior angles that are congruent, then you have parallel lines. What are my alternate interior angle pairs on this one?
3 and 5, 4 and 6.
3 and 5, and 4 and 6. You pick one. Pick whatever one you want for your example. I'm going to say, if I heard 3 and 5 first, angle 3 is congruent to angle 5, then the lines are parallel. Then L is parallel to M. I suppose I should put commas in the right place. Alternate exterior angle converse. Same thing as these, except for this time I'm looking for alternate exterior angles, and they need to be congruent to say that the lines are parallel. What are my alternate interior pairs on here?
1 and 7.
I heard 1 and 7 and 2 and 8. I heard 1 and 7 first. Let's use that one. If angle 1 is congruent to angle 7, then L is parallel to M. Here's where we take a little bit of a switch. Remember how same side interior angles on the other one weren't congruent? Like how you put it down incorrectly. They're supplementary. They're supplementary. In order to show lines are parallel, you need to say that they are supplementary. So that's why in consecutive, now remember, this says consecutive interior, consecutive interior, but more often than not, I'm just showing you the different ways to do it. In this class, I usually just put same side. Mean the same thing. Consecutive means the same thing as same side interior, same side exterior. Can someone give me a pair of same side interior angles? 4 and 5 and 3 and 6. We said them both at the same time. All right, they're not congruent though. They're not congruent. They need to be supplementary. So I may be boxing that word to know that if it's same side, we're using supplementary.
So would it be if 4 and 5 equal 180, then
If measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180. That's how I'd put. You could put if angle 4 and angle 5 are supplementary. You can use the words. I like having supplementary and 180 on my pink sheet because that way if I just forget for a second, I have both those words on the sheet. So if angle 4 plus angle 5 equals 180, or if it says they're supplementary, then the lines are parallel. Then L is parallel to M. Same side exterior angles. Can someone name a pair of same side exterior angles?
1 and 8.
1 and 8 and
2 and 7.
2 and 7. Pick your poison. They have to be supplementary, so it's going to look like this. I'm going to pick 1 and 8 because that's the first one I heard. If measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 8 equals 180, then L is parallel to M. All right. So the hard thing is going to be when we combine all this stuff. If I give you parallel lines, use the first 5. If you need to show me parallel lines, we need to use the converse. So we look at the first couple problems on this homework, or this lesson. Proving lines are parallel. Do any of these say that the lines are parallel? No, we need to show they're parallel, or if we can't show they're parallel, we put they're not parallel. So, for example, we have to determine, so it's our job to determine if they're parallel. So the first one says this is 63 degrees and this is 63 degrees. Your job is to figure out what kind of angles they are before you do anything. Are those any type of angles that we know?
Alternate exterior?
They are alternate exterior angles. Do we have an alternate exterior angle converse? And the alternate exterior converse says if they're equal, are they equal? Oh, yeah, they're equal. They're 63 and 63. If they're equal, then you have parallel lines. So can you prove they're parallel? Yes, you can. Yes. L is parallel to M. And how do we know that? Because we had alternate exterior angle converse. Yeah.
So when do we use the theorem on the converse?
When do we use the theorem? When you already know it's parallel.
Oh.
Everything on top is if you know they're parallel. Everything on bottom is you want to show they're parallel.
Okay.
So you just have to ask yourself, what am I doing? Was I given parallel lines or am I showing they're parallel? All right, second one. What kind of angles are those?
Corresponding.
They're corresponding angles. Do we have a corresponding angle converse? And that one says if your corresponding angles are they congruent?
Yeah.
Yeah. They straight up just tell you they're congruent. So that means, yes, we can say these are parallel. Yes, L is parallel to M. And that's because our corresponding angle converse. Once again, your big word there is converse. Not postulate, not theorem. Converses show that things are in fact parallel. Let's jump to number 4 real quick. What kind of angles are they if they're directly across from each other?
Vertical.
They're vertical angles. Now let's go to our pink sheet. Do we have a vertical angle converse? No. In fact, let me show you the 2 lines that you need for a vertical angle. Is that maybe I should make that a little more pronounced. Are those parallel at all?
No.
No. Wait.
No, those are just 2 lines that intersect. There's nothing parallel about that.
You have to prove that L and M are parallel.
We would have to prove something else, but we can't prove that L and M are parallel.
Because it only involves M.
It only involves M and that transversal there. So, nope, I can't show that they are parallel. We'd need more information. We would need more information. Give the other 3 a shot. If you haven't already, give the other 3 a shot. We're going to have to do it in class. That's why I said grab your stuff.
All right.
Okay? Look at these real quick. Number 5, you should have saw that these were alternate interior angles. If alternate interior angles are congruent, then you have parallel lines. So we should have put, yeah, I can prove they're parallel. Yeah, L is parallel to M. And we should have used the alternate interior angle converse. Converse. Let's hold off on 6 because that's the trap one. Let's do number 3. We should have realized number 3 were same side exterior angles. Number 3 are same side exterior angles. What's 132 plus 48? 180. So those are going to be 180 degrees. That means they are supplementary. One of you guys has to sit here. Because we picked new seats today. All right, so these are parallel. Yes. L is parallel to M. And that's because they are the same side exterior angle converse. Converse is our key. Our very last one, you might have said yes because they're same side interior angles. But you should have did the math because these do not add to 180. They add to 190. So this is a nope. Would that be fair on a test or a quiz? Probably not, because they look really close. If this was a quiz or a test, I'd make them pretty obvious. I'd make it like 80 and 65, where it's like you shouldn't have thought they added up to 180. But sometimes when you have those 5s, you're like, oh, yep, 180. Not a fair question for a quiz or a test, but it gets you thinking about it. You got to do the math. All right, let's skip to number 7. 7, let's do a couple together, and I'm going to let you guys try the rest. All right, and in fact, I'm going to go from this one, and I'm going to go to the next one, because I don't think we'll finish the next one. We'll see. All right, 2 and 4. 2 and 4 are congruent. This is where you might want to take your pencil and write lightly on this stuff. Not heavily, because then you can erase it. So what I would do is I would locate 2 and 4. Well, 2 is here,
Wouldn't it be
and 4 is here.
same side exterior?
They won't be same side exterior because they will be corresponding because this is my transversal that connects it. That's why I'm always going to take the time and just shade it in lightly, right? Just shade it in lightly and you can erase it easily. Don't do it too heavily because you know the next one might change completely. So if I just shade these in lightly, I should see that these are my lines and this is my transversal. They are corresponding angles and they are congruent. So now they also ask what lines are parallel. Remember how we spent so much time coming up with our transversal and our 2 lines? This is why, because the 2 lines we use are the parallel ones. So the ones I colored in purple, so we'll have C is parallel to D. C is parallel to D, and those are corresponding angles, so I use the corresponding angle converse. I use the converse to prove that they are in fact parallel. Now, if I just took my pencil and shaded in lightly, I should just be able to really easily erase my marks. If this is a quiz or test, you guys will realize on the quiz, I'll give you lots of drawings. So you can put colors on there, you can shade it in heavily, but just when we have one drawing, we got to be real light about it. All right, 5 is congruent to 10. So we have 5 is congruent to 10. So I'd really lightly do 5 and 10. We would locate our transversal. Remember, that's the line that connects both of them. And your transversal cuts through this line and this line. C would be my transversal, yep. What would my parallel lines be, though? They'd be A and B because of alternate interior angle converse. Your whole thing is you need to know how to name this stuff. So we have A is parallel to B, and we use the alternate interior angle con. I'm just going to put con to shorten my work. You guys can put converse. All right, C says 1 and 13. Hey, if it adds to 180, it has to be supplementary, right? We only have 2 that are supplementary for this. That is, I'm looking for same side interior, or I'm looking for same side exterior. If it's neither one of those, then we put a nope on there or something. Let's go take a peek at this one. So it says 1 and 13. 1 is here. 13's here. If I was really lightly using my pencil, I'd say this must be my transversal because it touches both of the numbers. And then maybe I'll use green to do the two lines. So the only ones that could be parallel are A and B. They're the only ones that touch that orange line. And we do have same side exterior angles. Same side exterior angles need to be equal to 180. So they are, in fact, parallel. A is parallel to B. And that would be same side exterior angle converse. I'm going to do one more with you, and that's 1 and 14. Once again, I would take the time, circle my 1 and my 14. My transversal comes down here. Doesn't it look like I'm just doing the same lines as I did last time? I got A and B again. That's okay. Don't let that throw you off. I have C parallel to D, A parallel to B, A parallel to B, and we'll have another A parallel to B. But this time it'd be alternate exterior angle converse. I'd like you to give E through K a shot. There are a few of them that are, in fact, none. There are several of them that are none. I can tell you exactly how many there are. Do the rest of them, yep. I could tell you that there are 3 of them that should be none. 3 of them should say none. 4 was this guy. 15 was this guy. Our transversal would be D. So our 2 lines would be A and B. So it does say A is parallel to B, and that's because 4 and 15 are alternate exterior angles. They're definitely on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're on the exterior. All right, our next one is 10 and 12. 10 and 12, transversal is B this time. Remember, our transversal is just the one that connects the 2 angles. Our 2 parallel lines should have been C and D. And I don't know why corresponding angles can be hard to see for some people, but these are definitely corresponding angles because every time we kind of look at same side for a second. But those are corresponding. 10 is in the top right. 12 is in the top right, so those are corresponding. We use the corresponding angle converse. I says none. Let's check why it's none. Well, I was supposed to be 9 and 13. 9 and 13. Hey, that's a linear pair. A linear pair doesn't do anything for me. That's why it's none. This one was a linear pair. So it's none. 2 and 7. 2 and 7, we should have saw those as alternate interior angles. It's alternate of A. That means my lines are C and D. Alternate interior angles converse. And finally, 6 and 11. 6 and 11. Can someone tell me a line that connects both of those? Just one line. No. So they're none of our pairs. It's not vertical, it's not linear, it's not same side, it's not alternate interior, it's none of them. That's none. It's just straight up none. It does not work. Any questions of any of the ones I just went through? Okay. We're just going to do a couple of these. We're not going to go through all of them. I'm trying to think which one I definitely want to do with you guys. Yeah. Sure, because you're nailing this stuff. All right. So we're going to do 1 and 17 together. So that's C. Let's look at C together. This can be important because this is on your homework. So if I look at 1 and 17. Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. Shade it in lightly with your pencil. If I shade it in, can anyone see a line that connects both of those? S connects both of them. That is my transversal. Now, I'm going to note the 2 lines that are involved with this. Notice angle 1, you need line P to make it. What line touches 17 besides S? R. So I'm going to highlight that one.
Aren't they corresponding?
They are corresponding angles. You do not care about the middle line. I didn't talk about it. I'm doing C, if you guys are confused. I'm doing C together. Because I wanted to show you that sometimes we can skip a line.
So
Well,
only when like the numbers interact with the line, that's what we put down.
Those are the ones we highlight. Yeah, perfect. Because we don't want Q to throw us off. But like Lacey said, these are corresponding angles. So what lines need to be parallel? Well, it has to be P and R. Nothing to do with Q. So when it asks for parallel lines, you better just put P is parallel to R. And that would be the corresponding angle converse. Let's just do one more. Let's do the one right next to it. D. We'll do D together real quick. D says, look at 16 and 20. Well, 16's here and 20's here. What line connects 16 and 20? T. That's my transversal. What line touches 16? Q. Which line touches R? What line touches 20? It's R. What kind of angles are those then?
The alternate interior.
They're an alternate interior because they're between the lines, right?
Oh, yeah.
Alternate interior. We have the alternate down. We just got to get that interior. So our parallel line should be Q and R this time, right? Because those are the ones I colored in. So I have Q is parallel to R, and they'd be alternate interior angle converse. That's definitely on your homework, that you have to understand that you got to get rid of lines that aren't touched. Okay, or they don't erase them. You can't. But just picture they're gone for a second. Okay, I'm done with those. I'm going to go to ones that are going to be kind of on our, like, solving using algebra. Okay. These should look a lot like the ones we've been doing. There's just one small thing, just the thought process behind it. Prior to this, our homeworks would say, hey, A is parallel to B, solve for X, right? This time, the only difference is they aren't parallel. We're going to force them to be parallel. What kind of angles are these two?
Obtuse.
Oh, fair enough. Are they like corresponding alternate? They're alternate interior angles. In order for me to show these lines are parallel, do those need to be congruent or they need to be supplementary? Congruent. So we're going to force them to be congruent. We're going to force these two to be congruent by saying, well, that means 10x minus 23 has to equal 137. We're going to force them to be congruent by saying they are congruent. Let's go ahead and solve for this real quick. So I'd add 23 to both sides. That's going to give me 10x equals 160 divided by 10 on both sides. Remember, 10 divided by 10 is 1, so I have 1x on the left-hand side. That equals 16. It does ask me, what did I use to solve for x? I used the alternate interior angle converse. I use that alternate interior angle converse. So realistically, whether I'm given they're parallel or I need to prove they're parallel, it's the same thing. I put an equal sign between it. So what I'm asking on a test or a quiz shouldn't matter. It's just you should know what type of angle they are, alternate interior. They need to be congruent. Let's skip to number 3. The reason why I'm skipping to number 3 is because we should realize those are same side interior, right? Are same side interior angles supposed to be congruent or supplementary? So supplementary. So we can't just throw an equal sign between it. So the biggest mistake I see people make is they'll go, I'm in a hurry, I'm going to put 96 equals 6x minus 30. That's wrong. Did I ever use 180 in there? No. So I got to back up and say, well, that's not how this works. These have to be supplementary because they're same side interior. They have to equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to do 96 plus 6x minus 30 equals 180. That's the right way to do this. So 180 on one side, everything else on the other. Now, the other mistake I see people making is, you know how when you add 30, I say add it to both sides? What I see people doing is I see them going plus 30, plus 30. It doesn't work like that. That only works if you're doing two sides of the equal sign. Instead, if you're simplifying a side, just circle the two things you're trying to simplify. 96, negative 30. 96 minus 30 is 66. Plus 6x equals 180. Now I have that side simplified. Now is where I subtract 66 from both sides. Oh, that's a 64. There's a 66. That 66 cancels out. I have 6x equals, what was it, subtracting 66? So that would be, what was that? Oh, thank you. Yeah, 114. Divide both sides by 6. Our 6's will cancel out, and we'll be left with x equals, it's 19. X equals 19, and that would be by using same side interior angle converse. I think it's a good way to end these two because we're going to have one similar to that on the quiz. All right, questions on any